Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining another webinar organized by Action Global Communications that, as always, aims to provide support and guidance to businesses on communications matters, a field that, as you are all aware of, we specialize in for many, many years. Today's webinar will focus on the journey of big data for marketeers. Millions of business people worldwide wrongly believe that data analysis is something complex and refers to online businesses only. In fact, most people believe it to be some new technology that's somehow connected to e-commerce. However, all these beliefs are wrong. In fact, data analysis is important for the success of every business. In today's webinar, we will be providing useful insights on big data utilization by marketeers with guest speaker Christina Kokkalou and co-host Garen Meserlian. A few words about our panelists. Christina Kokkalou is the founder and managing director of IMR University of Nicosia, one of the leading and most acclaimed market research organizations in Cyprus. With over 25 years of experience in the field of market research and strategic consultancy, she has been working with the largest organizations in Cyprus and proprietors of international brands. Embracing the challenges of digital transformation and big data, she has established a market business intelligence unit offering innovative and tailor-made solutions based on real-time advanced and predictive analytics, endorsing strategic business decisions. Garen Meserlian is the Senior Digital Director of Action Digital, part of Action Global Communications, with many years of experience running digital campaigns and extensive technical knowledge. Garen successfully oversees the development of each project at Action Digital. From standout website development and the creation of engaging apps to effective SEO, Garen consistently delivers real digital solutions and executes effective digital campaigns that produce measurable value to clients across a wide range of diverse industries and markets. So, what is big data? How can it be gathered and utilized to achieve company objectives? This webinar will focus on the journey of big data from collection to utilization, gathered both online and offline. As such, it will provide guidance on how marketeers can use this data for targeted and personalized comms campaigns, while also supporting sales and improving the customer experience. In this one-hour session, you will be guided through all the touch points of big data while offered practical tips and presented successful case studies from international brands. A few housekeeping notes before we begin. As we stated in the invitation, the webinar will feature a live Q&A with our two panelists, so please feel free to type your question into the relevant section you will see on your screen, and we will address them once the first part of the presentation is completed. Thank you. Christina, we may start with your presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the journey of big data. For the next 30 minutes, I will try to share with you how we can turn big data into actionable insights. I will also share with you some international brands and how they utilize the big data in order to achieve their targets. So let's start. Just a minute, sorry for this. So let's start by understanding how big is actually big data. I'm just sharing with you some information that, for instance, 2.9 million emails are sent every second. 375 megabytes of data are consumed by household each day. 20 hours of video are being uploaded to YouTube every minute. 24 petabytes of data per day are processed by Google. 50 million tweets per day, 700 billion total minutes spent on Facebook. So we can see the amount of data. How big is big data? Data is everywhere. We're constantly living and sharing a tremendous amount of data. So the always on is the new normal nowadays, and consumers are always connected with one source of online or offline information. The coming phase of connectivity will, however, be a giant leap in terms of breadth. Connectivity is expanding so rapidly that the notion of everything being connected is not just a plot in a science fiction film anymore. Let's see the important 8 V's of big data. Let's start by volume. Volume is considered the amount of data from myriad sources. The velocity is the speed at which the big data is generated. Variety are the types of data that we have in hand. It can be either structured or unstructured or even semi-structured. The veracity, the degree to which big data can be trusted. The business value of the data is very important because for each organization, the value can be perceived by its marketeers or CEOs, and they can understand how important the data really is for the organization. The variability, the ways in which big data can be used and formed. Visualization is very important because it helps us visualize the big amount of data that we have in hand and gives us a glance to the big picture and how we can come up with instant conclusions on the numbers that we see. And visuosity refers to the inertia when navigating through data collections. Now, how do we collect big data? Well, the sources of big data, let's start with the databases, images and media, clickstreams, social networks, HTML, sensors, emails, locations. We can also collect any source of data, as stated before, either on online or offline sources, or a combination of both. Now, it's important to understand how the pandemic, for instance, has led to e-commerce, a huge increase in online sales around the world. Although some of the shift in consumer spending towards online may be short-lived, a significant portion will be permanent. Many in-person experiences have lost their impact because of constraints on physical operations. There is more emphasis on digital, especially emerging concepts like live streaming. So what does this mean? It means that e-commerce has a magnificent impact on big data. For instance, 1.5 trillion absolute growth of global e-commerce in the last years. 56% of global retailers are looking to sell through additional digital channels in 2020. And 73% of global retailers believe the shift to offline sales will be permanent. This is just an example of how much data is being collected whenever a transaction is being made on any form on online sources. What are the advantages of using big data? First of all, it can predict outcomes accurately, meaning that if we study big data, it helps organizations to make better decisions while simultaneously optimizing their operation efficiencies and reducing risk. We can predict, us as researchers and statisticians, we can predict if we have data in hand for the past 3 months, we can predict the outcome, keeping in mind that all other external factors, of course, are kept in normality. We can improve our customer experience. How can we do that? By having data at each customer's touch point, it allows companies to improve upon their products and services. Very important, it allows us to reduce our costs because the data tools can help companies reduce the cost of harsh useful data and saving both time and money and focusing your efforts only on those activities that you know will bring the largest return on the investment. So it can increase your sales. Big data analytics could help companies generate more sales leads, which would naturally mean a boost in revenue. So all this together, at the end of the day, utilizing the data available to any form of organization, irrelevant of which of the business sector the company is from, it covers all aspects of the business sectors. It means that companies can come up and make better business decisions because they'll have the insights which they gather from the various data. They can learn their customers' behavior, they can understand their customers' trends, and they can provide highly personalized experience to them, which customers at the end of the day truly value the personal experience a company offers. However, all this does not come without challenges. The few challenges that we can state that are the big challenges of data, first of all, is the lack of sufficient skilled IT staff. There's a shortage of IT skilled staff that can utilize, make sense of the data, integrate it within the different sources. Another challenge is selecting the right tools. Moreover, is the cost of the technology, the complexity of managing data. Another very important issue is maintaining data security with all the laws and regulations and the GDPR that has to come into consideration. The tricky process of converting big data into valuable insights, and of course, trouble that comes with the upscaling of any organization. Now, regarding the GDPR and the privacy issue, that it's one of the most talked about topics related to big data and personalization and following all the customers' touch points. Based on a global research, we can see that 38% of connected consumers say that they share their data willingly because they would like to receive targeted offers. On the other hand, though, 58% of consumers globally say they actively manage their private setting, which means they give access to all the brands and companies that they wish for them to communicate directly, either giving them messages on offer or the news of the organization or the company. Now, let's start the journey of the big data. Whatever consumer thinks or has a willingness to purchase something or to visit a specific shop or a hotel or a financial institution, the consumer will go through various touch points. Behind each touch point, the consumer leaves his data footprint. Organizations and marketeers especially, they'll have to find a way to collect those data footprints of their consumer throughout all the stages of the data journey and make sense out of the big data that will be collected, analyze them, evaluate them, and come with targeted offers or decisions that have to do with adding value to their customers. For instance, at the information point, once the customer decides to visit a specific shop or financial institutions or even a hotel or travel abroad, there is an initial stop, which is either they do their research first and they go to the touch point, which is the physically or virtual any shop or stop for the consumer. The first step is that the companies or the organization, they do a scanning of their customers. So we have a customer profiling. The customer profiling can be as complicated or as simple as the company's needs are. With the first transaction, we can monitor all the financial performance and preference of our customer. So the amount of data collected and utilized once our customer has purchased or has come to our services, then we can have all the financial analysis we need about our customer. Very importantly, the data is for us to utilize in order to reduce the churn rate. We do not want our customers to lose our customers and go to our competition. So by studying the data at hand, we can be proactive. A very important thing about data analytics is that it allows us to be proactive and stop any negative impact on our organization. First of all, of having either unsatisfied customers or customers that decided, for instance, to have another brand of preference. So an example would be nice to see, for instance, data analytics here to reduce churn rate. If we're a hypermarket, for instance, and we can see that the basket composition of one of our loyal customers, because the segmentation can be done according to the level of how many tiers you would like to develop. The basket composition of our certain loyal customers has decreased. It's one red flag alert, for instance, for our data analysts to take into consideration. Or if a loyal customer has not entered our hypermarket in the last 3 weeks, it's also another red flag alert that the organizations or the marketeers analyzing the data could take into action. More importantly, we can test our marketing campaigns, either digital or offline marketing campaigns. We can see how our customers react to these campaigns. Customer relationship management units, our CRM system of the organization, can be in real-time connection with our customers throughout all the stages of the customer journey. More importantly, all of the data gathered can be used and utilized so as to offer our clients loyalty and rewards systems or schemes, which today is one of the most widely used means of having customers connected and close to the company and the brands. As stated before, the advanced and predictive analytics that can be used at all the data footprints the customer leaves behind during his journey. It's very importantly that we can understand the purchasing journey, the stages that they go through. We can understand their spending patterns and their behavior as well. We can understand their needs and be proactive to those specific needs. And of course, we can monitor our campaigns and the impact that our campaigns are having on our specific customers. It allows us for customer segmentation, as specific or as simple as our marketing teams need. We can customize experience personalizations, and we can target reward offers. All this together, the outcome is that our customers are engaged, and the key to success here is that we offer our customers ways that we can give more value back to them from their experience with our brands or our organization. An example of HP, I'm sharing with you some examples of large international brands. For instance, HP has launched an instant subscription, which allows them to monitor how much each specific consumer is using. So the purpose is that the ink is sent to them directly before they run out of ink. This allows the customer to think that the company knows me, knows my needs, but behind all this is advanced analytics and different softwares that the organizations are using. Moreover, this has also helped HP as a business model into a subscription service, which connects HP directly with consumers. This is part of a larger shift as manufacturers look to adopt more service-oriented business models. So let's see the first step. When our customer enters our shop, the shop can either be virtual or a physical shop. So our goal from the time that our customer came closer to us is to follow the journey and try to convince our customer to purchase from us either our product or service and turn them into loyal consumer. So the first step that a consumer does, it's his research. It's either online or offline, so we can have access and we see the various brands of interest of our consumer. The next stop is actually the shop, where data also is being collected at a specific point. We can see the purchases of services and packages that our consumer is interested or has purchased. And then, utilizing all those data, we can offer specialized offers or brands to them with the aim of having our consumers loyal to the brand or the organization. Now, what has Shiseido has done, which it has launched it in 2020, the past July. Shiseido is trying to offer touchless shopping experience, which means that they offer to every customer getting into the shop a wristband. With the wristband, all the information, it's following the consumer throughout the journey into the shop. Whatever the consumer has tried, the data is being on the wristband. Whatever the consumer purchases, all the information is within the wristband. The reason Shiseido has launched this technology is to gather all the specific information and data, which at the end of the day, Shiseido marketeers and the marketing team will utilize, with main thing in mind is to enhance the experience of the shoppers within their shop. Once all the information is available, taking into consideration Shiseido's example prior with the wristband, what the marketing department does, it's try to have a complete profiling of the customer, their demographics such as age, gender, occupation, income levels, type of plan or type of products in this case that they bought from Shiseido, which beauty products did they buy, household members. It's important because they target other family members as well within the same segmentation. And as we can see, as we stated in the beginning, one of the V of the big data is visualization. These are some of the dashboards that the company can have for easy access to the data, where red flags alerts as well can be viewed in certain areas. So this makes the job of the marketeers much easier, and it gives them all the tools that they need in hand to come up with the right decision for any marketing offers or campaigns. Very importantly, once our consumer has purchased our product, is to monitor the level of satisfaction. Once again, the level of satisfaction is being monitored and evaluated with the use of big data. We can gather data on the level of satisfaction from our customers and from their experience within our shop or via the service we have provided to them. Some examples of how we can receive the feedback back from our consumers is with notifications that we'll ask them to give our feedback. We can reward them once they give their opinion back to us, evaluating our products or our service. And once again, the data can be viewed on a real-time basis. One more advanced is an example of how Amazon has launched in 2020 the Palm Reader. It's a biometric payment system where consumers no longer need to carry with them wallets or tickets or even keys. They can just scan the palm of their hand, and all the information is being scanned through the palm of their hands. This is another example of how technology and advanced data analytics in the future, all marketeers will have in the palm of their hands, if you wish, all the information regarding their customers. So basically, big data is once again utilized to the full with the help of the advancements in technology. Now, what's having the loyal consumers? Another very important thing which the pandemic has made a lot of international brands and organizations be aware of is the need of the communities to be engaged. The consumers have been through a huge emotional roller coasters. For consumer and highlight the importance of empathy and experience for brands and retailers to establish strong emotional bonds with their consumers. The strong emotional bonds can only be maintained if they know well their consumer and their needs. So this again emphasizes the need of analyzing their data. Many organizations have come up with ways and things where they can make active with their consumer by allowing them to have live streaming and by allowing them to have a real-time environment virtually as close as it can be to the real shopping experience. As we can see some numbers, 45% of global retailers are looking at perks of loyalty programs. 53% of global retailers are looking at more online experiences such as digital events and live streaming. And 64% of global population will be unurbanized by 2040. Now, how has some international brand, as we all know, Burberry, tried to have a more personalized experience with their elite consumers? So they have launched an app which is called R, which allows the consumers to feel special, first of all, because it's a personalized app. And they can shop online, but at the same time, they are in direct communication with a person who is physically at that time at the store. The salesperson in the store at the same time, real time, that the consumer has connected with them, has all the information in front of them. They know everything. They have all the profiling of the customer as it was gathered, as we have seen before, in the demographic analysis and profiling of the customers. So they know their size, they know their preferences, they know what style of clothes they wear, and moreover, they know if they're celebrating their birthdays. So all of this gives them a personalized experience, which at the end of the day enhances the experience of the shopping to the customers, and the customers enjoy a more personalized experience, and at the same time appreciate that more value was given to them by their favorite brand. Now, either in store, physically or virtually, data is collected at all times. In-store analytics allows us to walk in our customers' footprint. We learn their shopping patterns. We know we can have our sophisticated retail strategies that will give the performance we need as far as sales is concerned to stay ahead of our competitions. Many times stores need to redesign after studying the way that their customers go through the shop, either physically or online. They can monitor which sections do they click on. So data is all the time collected regarding the process of the customer's journey inside the store. So this allows us basically to gather information on our buying and our browsing traffic. In-store traffic and analysis are the key tool which allows businesses to fully understand their customer shopping journey and spending partners and adjust all their retail strategies according to the needs of their customers. How is this made possible? With very simple technologies which are widely available for everyone. A microchip can be inserted in any security camera that's available into a physical store, or on the online, you can monitor all the clicks that are done by the potential consumer on the site. So this, as far as technology is concerned, is something very simple and widely available for everyone with a very low cost, but at the same time, the value of the data that's been gathered is priceless as a means of the organization to make the right retail strategy decisions. The data analytics can physically help a lot of organizations, such as financial institutions, hotels, airports, allowing them to study the data so that they can enhance their customer experience. They can optimize the store performance, optimize operational activities, and at the same time increase their sales. Another example of on-store analytics, the technology allows us to measure automatically in real time the number of people that are being queued, and there are alerts. So the only thing that, as you can see in the dashboard in the screen, you can see the number of people by every minute or every half an hour that are available in the store or in the queue, which allows us to better program and deal with the queues that are being created. We know the average time that they have spent into the queue. We know if some of our customers have purchased the product or services, but then have abandoned due to the long queue that was ahead of them. And at the same time, we can have alert to open a different cashier. So all of these things are done automatically, and it allows us to study the data that are available of how physically or virtually the customers are entering into our store. And the technology does not stop there. Data analytics is very important. 25 years ago, when we started gathering data through traditional means of research, collecting data was very difficult. Today, collecting data is an automated phase, and technology has allowed us to collect data without even needing to ask the consumer to give us their data. And the emotional data analytics is one of the most fascinating for us researchers, because it allows us to study the emotions of our consumers or our people of interest. It allows us to have more than 100 different emotions analyzed. It gives us a full spectrum of human emotions, and we can know how our customers feel at the time that they're in contact with their brands, or they come into our shop, or they purchase something from us. And we know if they're happy, if they're satisfied, and there's just an emotional scanning of their face. All GDPR compliance, nothing is being recorded, and it gives us a real-time feedback on how our customers are enjoying or spending their journey within our brands. I'll share with you a video closing my presentation. I will share with you a video on how this actually works. Yes, Dimitris, back to you.
Thank you very much, Christina. Christina, it is really, really interesting information. Now we're going to include Garen in the conversation. Hi, Garen.
Hi.
So, what did you think about Christina's presentation?
I think it was fantastic. I mean, just looking forward to having the next set of questions and discussions that we can deep dive into.
Before you ask anything, just to remind people, participants, that you can write any questions you might have in the Q&A section, and I'll make sure that Christina and Garen provide the answers.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Christina, for that. It was really excellent. I mean, we do some data analytics here at Action Digital as well, and it's very interesting to see the other side of the spectrum where it's more big data and more integrated and more analysis is coming through. Well, there's a few things that I want to touch point on, and one of them is, let's say, the GDPR concern. And I know, like with the facial recognition, you're sort of not collecting personal information, rather just emotions, and that's sort of being stored. But I think there's certain touch points where it's related to the loyalty program. There could be some personal data collected, and how's that handled from your guys' end?
Well, the loyalty programs, we need the consent of the consumer in order for him to register in one of our loyalty programs. And then at the end, there are all sorts of questions if they comply or if they agree with us, sending them targeted offers. So all this takes into consideration the consumers' preferences and acceptance, if they do agree if they would like to be our loyalty and receive our offers. But as we have seen in the slide that I've shown you, if it's a brand that the consumer has close to them, or their brands that they're using, most of the consumer do comply, or they do wish to get personalized offers because it makes their experience and their shopping a lot easier. And we have seen
they get some benefits as well.
They get benefits, yes.
Yeah. That's
why it's important for brands to build those emotional bonds with their consumers, because otherwise, definitely, they would not want to receive any.
That's
one of the important things. It's one of the.
That's definitely an interesting point, and something to touch on. It's the brand itself relating to its own consumers, and I think this is something that we see whenever we run campaigns. Is if you're getting too personalized with consumers that are not that related with the brands, you see a sort of rejection rather than affection to the brand and to the interaction or engagement that they would normally produce. So I think there's that thin line that if it's too over personalized, you might scare them away. But if they're super fans of your brand, they would really appreciate it. And it's interesting how that would be handled from your guys' end.
Exactly. That's the challenge, Garen. It's important for organizations or brands to start building early on, from the first touch point the customer has, to gain trust. So then they will open up and be able to have a two-way interactive relation with their brand. And studying international brands abroad, like the example we've just seen with Burberry, it shows that customers do appreciate that personal connection with their brand.
Yeah.
I
think definitely, and specifically with the Burberry's point, I mean, what you're essentially providing to your consumer is you're saving them a lot of time going through and sifting. You're having this personal assistant following you around and giving you exactly what you need. For a super fan and somebody that's in love with that brand, then they would appreciate it much more. On the other end, it might, for somebody that's looking at it from the outside, it might look, do I really want that personalization? Is this a little bit crazy? How far is this going to go? And that's an interesting battle that keeps going on a day-to-day basis in this medium specifically. Talking about the journey that you guys sort of have in your presentation, So from the first touch point to the, do you want to explain a little bit more where you guys essentially come in and what's your day-to-day functionality, just so we can give a little bit more context to our listeners?
Excuse me, Garen, can you repeat your question, because I've lost.
No worries. No worries. What I'm saying. What I was saying was in your slides, you talked a little bit about the consumer journey, and from the first touch point towards the end where they become a loyal fan base. Would you be able to elaborate a little bit more where your company IMR would come in, and what would be your, let's say, activities to help guide the consumer from one end to the other?
Well, actually, we're involved at all the stages according to the needs of our clients. For instance, we can even begin the journey before the client himself begins the journey. Like, we want to know the awareness of our brand, we want to know the willingness to purchase our brand. So we start with basically traditional forms of research. If our client has a database with the loyal consumers or a loyalty database, and there's a consent for their clients for external analysis of the data, then we can have more targeted segmentations with our clients. So this is one of our expertise, that we can help the client prior the journey beginning. Once the journey begins, we can help analyze the data with our clients. Basically, our data analysts can analyze all the data that is available with our clients or with any organization to make sense of the data, to help our client make more valuable segmentations, to make more valuable offers. So we can study the data, we can be able to be proactive, as we said, with predictive analytics, how our consumers are willing or are going to behave. One very important thing, as stated before in the journey, is the churn rate. We don't want our customers to leave. We want our customers to stay with the company. So by analyzing those data, we can bring back, to some extent, a specific amount or share of our market share of our clients back. So at all stages, according to the needs of our clients, of our organizations, we can help either gather the data if it's not available from our clients' database or from the various sources, and we can analyze them and make sense out of the way the customers behave, interact, the trends, all those information. There's a question, Garen, I'm not sure if you can see it. How accurate are the results that you have shown in your last video, the emotions? There's a question in the Q&A section.
Oh.
Yeah, but it was directed to me, so maybe that's why you're not.
Oh, yeah, no, I can see it, yeah.
Okay, so
yeah.
Yeah. Now, the results, according to the quality of the camera being installed, they can be anywhere between 95 to 99% accurate. The results of the video of the emotions. As I have stated before, it just scans the face. GDPR compliance, the video is not being stored. It can understand if you're a male or a female. It can understand approximately the age of the specific customer. Like, it will give you a range, for instance, 30 to 40, and it can state down the emotions that are going through the specific consumer once he's in front of your sales rep or he's going at one of your hotels. So you could see the emotions.
I mean, this data could be sent back to headquarters as well, so they can sort of analyze maybe, if that specific interaction with the sales rep has been positive or negative, or whether the first reaction they have maybe around the store environment, so they can analyze if they need to do interior designing, and I mean, this sort of data you can really dive deep into multiple levels. And you can take multiple decisions, on any of these data sets. which sort of leads me to my next question is, how do you so it's I think the key factor to this is not just collecting the data, but rather reading it. What
Exactly.
qualifications or experience would these data analysts need to be able to sort of give you this analysis?
Okay, now as one of the challenges that we've seen, big challenges of big data is that nowadays the need for data analysts is way higher than actually the specialized and skilled data analysts that are available. So anyone wanting to see what they should study for
for the next 10 years, it's definitely the new computer science, I believe. Yeah.
computer science, yes, combined with technology. So yes, for us here, we have anything from computer specialists with a background in mathematics or statistics. I'm talking about our team internally.
Yeah.
We have people who have PhD in different fields, like for instance, physics. I mean, people who comes or programming, and of course, in order to be able to work with data, because they're coming from various sources, you have to be very good also with technology. So it's really difficult. I mean, it's an finding the right people. And of course, researchers as we come in, because most of the time you need to have a background of research in order to understand the data. So it's a combination
of multiple fields.
Yes.
But that reading of the information is extremely important, I believe.
Let me read another question that pop up. Data is now available more than ever before. However, marketeers often feel overwhelmed with the great amount of data that they are dealing with. Any advice for better utilization of data in an efficient way?
Okay, what I want to say to you from my experience, let's talk a bit about the local market without mentioning any brands. A lot of organizations in Cyprus today and large companies, they do have huge amounts of data that they can utilize. Most of the time what's happening is that they do not have a dedicated team of analysts internally to be able to analyze the data that they have in hand. So yes, it is not being utilized to the extent that it can be to help the organizations. For instance, if there's also misinterpretation of the data, that's why it's important to have people that do understand numbers. Because, for instance, looking back at some of the levels of satisfactions of their customers, if your base is not big enough, not statistically efficient, maybe you'll come out with the wrong conclusions. So data analytics is a science. Unfortunately, it's not easy for everyone to understand and make sense of. That's why you need experts in their field to help. Nowadays, though, technology helps. Like you can program your softwares or your databases with advanced programming, even artificial intelligence or machine learning nowadays. So it's a step of security, if you want, from mistakes that can probably happen from humans or from people working with data. Once you know that you can first program your data through machine learning or artificial intelligence, and by doing so, you minimize the risk of misinterpreting data.
Definitely.
So companies nowadays are trying to find those security links of not misinterpreting data, utilizing the data that's available, and at the same time having the right people within the organization to take advantage of all the information that's available.
There are also some concerns, and you can see that from the questions. I don't know if Christina, you can see the questions. There's a question here, interesting, however, data gathering raise some concerns over being constantly monitored. It's related to the GDPR that you mentioned earlier, but overall there is this concern by the public of constantly being monitored by all devices?
Like, okay, maybe because we were trying to cover everything in 30 minutes. It's not like a big brother watching over your every move. The data that is being collected is to some extent not directly related to the more personalized aspects of our customers. The data is being used to offer our clients a better experience, a better value for their money. In this sense, and of course, Garen has stated in the beginning, we do not want to irritate our customers. Too much personalization and too much of direct communication frequently would irritate your clients.
Yep.
So again, it's a science of finding the right, there's not a right formula of how or to what extent an organization can have communication and to what extent can be personalized. It has to directly with the brand, the characteristics of the brand, and the engagement with the brand. Trial and error in the beginning will allow the companies to understand the fine line or the fine tuning between personalization and when that has to stop and come back and give a more breathing space to your customers.
Yeah, I mean, just going to the other end as well. It's not just about the personalization as well. We said it also helps the company improve. So it's like getting a survey about the interactions that you had with the company, whether it was positive or negative. It influences your future decisions on how you decide or want to improve the company. So at the end of the day, there is this concern and line about Big Brother and improvement, and we need to always try and steer towards how can we use this data for the better good, or for the benefit of the end consumer.
Exactly. There's an interesting question here about data in elections or political activities.
Yes.
Well, I need to tell you though that the emotions analytics have been used on Trump and on all of those. Their elections, the people working for them are using all those technologies to make
100%.
sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's the thin line. Definitely, 100% agree. Whether it's to use it to cross the message or to split extremes. This data could easily be for the benefit or for the
Exactly. So these technologies are being used today in elections.
Yeah. And it's important to have this moral conduct, and you can't really not do it, because it's the future, whether you like it or not. The important thing is to put in the regulations or the right steps, barriers, so you don't manipulate them. And I think even for us marketeers, GDPR was like a challenge, but it's a step in the right direction, and it's something that needed to be done. And you can see that in some states in the US, they're already following through with similar activities. I think in California, they introduced something with basically a copy of GDPR called something else. But yeah, that's the direction that we need to go into, so everybody's sort of in check.
Do either of you see a future in marketing strategies without the utilization of data analysis?
No. No. We
wouldn't be having this conversation if you actually did.
Definitely not. I think it's difficult to say. I mean, I'm not ruling out. I personally speaking, I wouldn't rule out. You won't be able to survive if you don't have data. For you to be able to survive on the big leagues, then you will probably need data. I always the most important thing for any company that we would want to promote is branding. So if the brand is the strongest asset that any company could have, if they have a high brand value, that means they can sell their products for a higher value. That means they can have more super fans that they would talk about them. Branding is the most important asset. And there's a lot of stuff that feeds into building this brand or brand equity, and big data or data analytics is becoming a bigger percentage of that pie. That's my perception of that situation.
Exactly. And
I don't know if Christina, you have a different input on that.
100%, and at the same time it helps you to reduce your cost because you go more targeted, so all your words very specific and you have a clear view in your mind and your strategy of your consumers, and you know where to target, and at the end of the day you get a larger impact on your campaigns, on your activities, and as a result you build the bond with your consumer.
That's true. I'm just reading the next question. How is data readily available, accessible, and open to consultation from the subjects and persons who originally consented to the usage of their data? If I understood the question correctly, how would somebody who already submitted their data be able to remove it? If I understood that questions correctly, from my perspective, where we collect data from let's say websites or e-shops that we develop, there's always the option for you to sort of remove your actual personal data, so stuff that you can be identified from. So to clarify to the people on the call as well, and there's you can sort of break down data into two sets. Personal data, so things that is unique to you, and then interaction data, so that's stuff or reactions that you have to websites, clicks, banners, ads, voice conversations, telephone conversations. Those are not unique to you, so you can't be identified by them. So that sort of data usually is kept and stored, but the personal data is the one that you have full control of and you can get removed. You can decide not to share the second set of the data with you. Whenever you visit the website, you can see the option where you don't want to share personal interactions with that site, and then from there you can just completely block it off. But your personal data from whenever point, if you're signing up to any loyalty program for any company, then you should, by this time in Europe at least, have the option to take away or delete your data.
I'll just make a clarification regarding the GDPR and the data. Now, us as researcher and data analyst, for instance, if we have a financial institution that's our client, the owner of the data is the financial institution.
Yeah.
Us as researchers or data analysts, we're the processors of the data. So we only have right to process the data that has that is not linked to any personal information.
Yeah.
That can personalize, we don't know, we just know generic information regarding the data that we're looking at.
Yeah.
The security as well. So for us to be able to analyze the data without pinpointing who the specific person is that has decided to leave our store or is not purchasing along with us or has changed buying behavior. So this is the way we secure that we can still work with data, but as you said, disconnect from the original owner of the data or who the person is.
We only have a few minutes left. So a new question that popped, what technologies and existing data development practices should a company have in place to kickstart the big data efforts?
I don't seem to see, the question, what technologies, existing data development practice should the company have? Okay, now, depending on the size of the company, the data can be utilized even if it's a very small company. Even a small Excel spreadsheet could help you utilize your data. Now, as our data gets complicated, then we do need specific softwares that would allow us to utilize.
Or even people, yeah.
And the people as well, yes,
Yeah.
of course. So it depends on the needs and the complexity of the data that we're gathering. It can be complicated. When it develops,
and as simple as in my space at least, so like the most basic thing that you would need to include on a website, let's say, is whether it's a tracking system that would be, let's say, Google Analytics, or any other tracking platform there is out there. And this is sort of the Excel sheet that exists online. And from that, you can start tracking, let's say, interactions or efforts that people have on your websites, whether they leave from the first page they visit, or how long they stay on the site, or how deep do they scroll to the bottom of the page. These are all, let's say, actionable information that you can take, and we as analysts, we read and we interpret and we say, okay, so maybe we should put this information above the fold or on the top of the screen, and in the other, maybe we should move the contact form to the left. Maybe we should add a more understanding or clear call to action where we would tell the user to do 1, 2, and 3. So the data that we're collecting from the site gives us this information for us to interpret and adjust and make the web surfing experience a little bit more easy for the end consumer. And this could be, yeah, so in specifically for, depending on the size or depending on the medium, that, if it's a brick and mortar, a physical store, then you have different levels. The camera with emotions is a fantastic way to collect and to understand the behaviors of the people that are interacting with you on a day-to-day basis. It's really a great thing. Yep.
I think we're reaching to the end of the 1-hour session.
Yeah.
Maybe if you guys want to just a finishing statement, just to wrap up of all the important and really significant stuff you guys mentioned today. Christina?
Okay, closing, I'll just want to just say a fact that all the data that we have has been in the world today, around 70% of it has been in the last 2 years. So having that in mind, imagine the amount of data that will be available to us in the next couple of years. So what this means is that we have to find a way, as Garen said, to utilize and make sense of the data. And this is the more valuable asset any company or any organization they have as tools to make the right decisions. So starting to invest in the analytics of big data will help them in the future to make the best decision.
Yep. I mean, a lot on the same line of what you said. Data is the next step. It's where we're going to, and that's how we see it as marketeers. The more information we have, the smarter decisions that we can take. The people that you need, the people who will invest in this sector as a business, let's say, they will have a certain competitive advantage that other businesses won't, and it's a landscape to look out for.
Brilliant. So thank you very much both for this discussion. Thank you everyone who participated in this action webinar. We'll be announcing our next topic in the next few weeks, and obviously we'll be sending also the recording of today's session to everyone who participated, so that you can listen again and in more remember all the information that the guys mentioned. There was a lot of information in this session that obviously we need to take in, absorb, and start following accordingly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye.